Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I am going to talk about, by Facebook follower request, signs that your girlfriend will continue to like sex after marriage. I've obviously discussed the inverse quite a bit, the red flags that your partner will stop liking sex after marriage and kids, but I'll go into depth about what to look for. I've done that in the compatibility post, but not fully just about this topic, which we should get into so that, you're aware that there are signs that are, that somebody's more inclined to value physical touch over the long term, although nothing is set in stone with that, and I'll discuss that too. Before that, though, you should subscribe. The most recent episode is about you should divorce when you're accepting of the divorce versus when you're angry and can't stand your partner, because if you do it when you're super angry, it will be a contentious, horrible thing to put your kids through, and you could avoid that by doing the necessary work to process and grieve the end of the marriage prior to the marriage ending, which is what a lot of people don't realize. All right, so turning to the topic at hand, we could talk about signs that your husband will stop liking marriage after signs your husband will stop liking marriage would be funny topic. But signs that your husband will stop liking sex, we could do that too. But the main one, the only one I've ever seen correlate, is does your husband not like sex that much? And that brings me to an interesting topic, which is this is the same. So all of y'all that exist, everybody raise your hand that had like an amazing, like super fulfilling erotic connection prior to marriage. And then she was just like, actually, fuck you. I don't like any of that. That's not real. The vast majority of the people that I work with who end up in sexless or very unfulfilling sexual relationships can, if they try, see the origin of these signs, the origin of this sexlessness in the earliest sexual encounters. Sure, you were having a little more sex then, maybe even a lot more sex. But what happened when you suggested something new? What happened when you were playful in bed? What happened when you tried to share a fantasy? What happened when you got hard at an inopportune moment? Was she grossed out? Yes. Yes, she was for the last. And what happened is basically nothing good for any of the prior things that I said. Usually people like to, get themselves off the hook for things. So they're like, man, I never could have told that she wasn't going to like sex after marriage. What a bait and switch. Women, man, can't live with them, can't kill them, right? So and this is like actually would be a good attitude compared to some of the people that get very angry with me on social media about, for example, the fact that men cheat more frequently than women because they have 1,000 billion zillion times more testosterone. No shit. But but people are like really upset if you say something like that because there are guys and women too. This is cross-gender. People like to be victims. Don't be these people. Don't be somebody who puts your head so far into the sand, that you can't see that you, not your fault, but you missed and didn't look at real deep red flags that this person wasn't what you thought, wasn't what you wanted them to be. This person was not what you wanted them to be. It is incredibly rare for a man to say that he married the best sex of his life, unless, of course, she was the only sex of his life, in which case he is factually correct. But a man, let's say, that had multiple partners, marries the most sexually open one, the one who's initiating, the one who's saying, wouldn't this be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? The one where you come home and she's in lingerie, the one who is sending you sexy pictures during the day, the one who wants to do everything in bed, that this is a valued part of her life, that her sexual identity is super important to her, and then it just goes to nothing and she's grossed out by everything. It doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen that much. If it does happen, she's not grossed out. Like, she's just like, no. Because you don't go, by the way, from somebody who's not grossed out by sex to somebody who is. Yes, there's, of course, the inhibitions are lower during the honeymoon phase, and you can go from someone who will do things because basically their adrenaline is pumping to somebody who is who their grossed outness is revealed in its full glory. But you don't go from somebody who's open-minded about sex to somebody who's closed-minded. It's not a thing that happens. If it does happen, it is due to some tremendous life change, like they get raped or something terrible, or like they have a horrible trauma happen, or they are, even when they're very depressed, it's still not that they go to they're grossed out by sex. They just don't want it. Even when they have children and they're touched out, it doesn't mean that they're grossed out. And even when they fucking hate you because you're not perfect either, and the marriage goes to shit, they're still not disgusted by sex if they didn't start out that way. But guys do not understand. Some guys, especially with low self-esteem, and the next thing that I'm going to record is about, so, keep listening, is that guys with low self-esteem pick women who aren't that into them in the beginning, as do women with low self-esteem. And then they later, the woman gets even less into them. And then they finally, it's so dramatic that they can admit there's a problem. But like they didn't even understand that women could really be into them. And when some women were into them, they were not into these women. Because classic imago theory, it didn't feel like home. Felt like, why is this woman up my ass all the time wanting to hang out? I don't like that. Oh, you know who I'm going to go for? That one over there that has more things to do than just hang out with me all the time. It's a challenge. That's a high quality woman. By definition, that one over there who doesn't want to fuck me is a high quality woman. So says the man with low self-esteem, inarticulately, nebulously in his brain. I see this all the time, and I see it in the gender inverse. Women have men who want to, do everything for them. They're like, oh, you're cute, friend zone, and I'm going to go for Mr. Asshole. Is this all women? Certainly not, despite what you may read on the internet. That is not accurate at all. Healthy women like the guy who likes them. That, for a healthy person, seeing that somebody likes you, that you think better of them. You think they have good taste. They like me. Because you heard growing up as a kid that you're good, that you are a good person that deserves good things to happen, and you're an appealing, delightful person to be with. And if you hear that, then you believe it, But all the people who didn't hear that, when somebody likes you too much, it's thought to be a bad sign. It's like, whoa, look at that stupid idiot, likes me? What the fuck's wrong with that person, right? So let's be real here. The 99% of people that are in sexually unfulfilling relationships knew it, could have known it at the very beginning, but they were people who didn't want to see it because they were not attracted to anybody that was too into them. So it's a very interesting thing when you go back, like with a therapist, let's say. So guys, and I've said this before, but it's merits saying again because it's very relevant to this topic. Guys are like, well, yeah, it used to be great. We had a great sex life. Oh, yeah, really? When you were dating, so you were having sex all the time? Well, no, not all the time, but more. We were having sex more, and she would do more things. Oh, so that's when she did the oral sex? Well, depends what you mean by oral sex. Yeah, for a couple minutes, it was never her favorite, but she did. She did do it. She put it in her mouth. I remember it was March 15th, 2004. She did. It was 8 seconds. Oh, but you have this BDSM thing that you like to do. I assume then in the early life she did that. Well, she has these things she likes and these things she didn't. But, it was okay because we were having sex, and she seemed to like it. Sometimes she had an orgasm, I think she did. I definitely think she does. Sure. Don't press me too hard. Not exactly sure, but okay. And yeah, we did. We did have 90 seconds of what I now recount. It was, even at the time, fairly closed off, disconnected sex. But she did afterwards say she loved me, and that's what I'd like to get back to. It's like, it wasn't ever what you wanted. But when you don't have high self-esteem, then you think that that all women will kind of not really be that into you, and B, that, the women who are somehow subpar. So whatever. I mean, take this for what it is, but this is God's honest truth, and you should reflect on it so much. Because if you are actually single and divorced at this point and wanting somebody else, you may find yourself drawn to the women who don't like you again. Don't fucking do that. You went down that road. You may find yourself drawn to the women who are like, no, I don't do this, and this in bed, but I do these two things. Well, you like those two things, right? They are penis and vagina intercourse and, well, I think it's one thing actually now that I think about it, but it's a good thing, right? I mean, that's what men like, isn't it? Don't go down that road. So, all right, that was my big preamble. But here are the signs that a woman would like sex. Like, you don't know these. I mean, all of them are commonsensical, but I will just belabor the point as I was asked to do. They like physical touch. Can't get over this one. A woman who likes sex, a woman who will still like sex after the honeymoon stage fades is a woman who always liked physical touch. So that means that she's huggy, kissy, touchy, feely. She likes to cuddle. She likes to get her back rubbed. She likes to get her feet rubbed. She likes all these things. She can't live without physical touch. She follows you around for physical touch. Does that sound like your ex-wife that didn't like sex? No. Or your current wife? No, never. So think about it already. I'm not saying that a 24-year-old man should know this. What I'm saying is don't beat up yourself or your wife verbally or think that it was some kind of bait and switch. When you go through these, you'll realize she didn't have any of them. If you're complaining about now, that she doesn't like sex, she didn't have any of these signs that she would. Not that you were supposed to know that. But anyway, so this woman really, really likes physical touch. She likes it with her friends. She likes it with her kids. She likes it with her dog. She likes it with everybody. She herself wants physical touch all the time. Next, open-mindedness around sex. This is key. She has to want to talk about sex, talk about fantasies. This is a big part of her identity as being a sexual person. Oh my God, guess what this might come with? Hold on to your hat, but it may come with a plethora of sexual experience. So if your low self-esteem prohibits you from being with a woman that ever enjoyed sex before she met you, well, then I got an unpleasant truth for you, which is that if you want to marry a woman who likes sex, unless she is 16 years old, in which case you could take this one off but you know what, she probably even then would have kissed somebody before you and had a sexual relationship. But even if she didn't, if you met a woman that's in her 20s and the first time she enjoyed sex was with you, it's not because you are a porn star. It's because she doesn't really enjoy sex. And so, she didn't enjoy sex. She didn't want to have sex that bad. She had sex a couple times. She didn't really like it. And now she, quote, likes it with you. Well, does she really, or does she just love you? And does she not even know the difference? Because she doesn't know what good sex is, which I talk about all the time. Women with low sex drives don't really know what good sex is. So they assume that it's having penis and vagina intercourse with a man that you love. That is good sex. That's what they think it is. So anyway, open-mindedness, sharing of fantasies, bringing sex up as a topic, flirting, talking about things, talking about past sexual experiences, wanting to know about your past sexual experiences. Somebody who likes sex. I mean, really, somebody who likes to think about it and talk about it. Somebody who has previously been in a relationship that did not become completely sexless, well, that's a good sign for yours not becoming completely sexless in the future. If even when she hated her ex-husband, they still did have sex, good sign for you. Because that means even if she hates you in the future, you'll still have sex, right? What else? I mean, if the woman is introspective in general and knows that a relationship is something you need to work on, not an idealist that thinks, that life is a Nicholas Sparks movie and The Notebook and, or any other ones. And he was an author, by the way. I only mention him because he's wrote the book, The Notebook, and I read it years ago. So I know one romance novel. But anyway, so if she thinks that, we just fit together so perfectly and we're never going to have to work on our relationship ever and our sex will be effortless forever, then she's a fool. Either she's very young or she's a fool, And if she's very young, then you could start to say things, and you're probably then also very young, I hope that I'm not talking to any 50-year-old men that are saying, boy, I want to have a 20-year sex life with the 24-year-old that I'm dating. Man, you're going to be 70 something. Like, even the most narcissistic guy cannot imagine that at 70 something he would be able to really, please a 40-year-old woman. But I mean, I don't know. Like, who knows what people think. The point being that in that case, by the way, if you want to date 20 years younger, you should certainly date a lower libido woman, because then you will kind of max out at the same level, after the honeymoon stage and after things go a little bad for you, because men do not have the same sex drive in their 50s, 60s, and beyond that they do in their 30s, 40s, and lower. But that's an aside. So the point being here, it has to be a woman that likes sex, that likes touch, that's always liked sex, that's always liked touch, that likes talking about things openly, whether they are sex or the relationship, and that is committed to making the marriage work. So if it's somebody where you ask for a blowjob and they're like disgusted and like, I'm not in the mood, this isn't somebody to be with. This is the fucking honeymoon stage. If you are dating somebody in the honeymoon stage and they don't like a blowjob, when do you think they're going to like it? Like, I mean, really? When? Never. They are never going to like it. This is the most that they would ever like it, and they don't like it. So for you to then say it will change, it's not going to change. If you're trying to talk about fantasies and she's like, ew, I would never want to think about you with another woman, ever, ew. Ew is not an appropriate response within a high libido marriage, a highly sexual marriage. There's no ew. If it's ew, then if it's ew about one thing, it's going to start to be ew about everything. So then you could say, does this mean that I can't have any things I don't want to do? Well, of course. I mean, everybody has some things they don't want to do, but ew is different. So there should be no ew, no gross, no that's immoral, none of it. Like, if you said to your wife, I want to have sex, what my fantasy is, I don't want to do it because I love you, but what I think about is I think about having sex with 3 women at once. And she's like, ew, oh my God, ew, I never thought, oh my God, oh my God. Like, what? What did you say? You didn't say that you want to have non-consensual sex with a yak, I mean, it's like when men just like, they're like, oh, well, that's cute. Women are different than men. She's a gentle, delicate flower. She's not a gentle, delicate flower. She's a woman that's shitting on your fantasy life. You got to see the difference. So to regroup, to be clear, she's got to like sex. She's got to like touch. She's got to talk about fantasies. There can be no judgment. And do women like this exist? Certainly. Certainly they do. What do they not have? The magic thing that you're always looking for secretly that they may not have? They may actually like you. So if you subconsciously get off on having to be the pursuer because you do not think that you are worthwhile enough, any woman of any value pursuing you, then that's the shit you got to work on in therapy. And if you don't, you will end up in the same situation of basically the martyr and the ice queen. Refer to my podcast with that name, The Martyr and the Ice Queen. And you'll end up in that situation for the rest of your life over and over, like some kind of, Rod Serling, jack-off fantasy, of like the Twilight Zone redux, the man who can never be sexually fulfilled and ironically gets into the same exact sexual relationship over and over and over. You don't want to be that. You don't want to be that, but you will be that if you ignore the things like ew, like don't touch me, like my ex only wanted me for sex, like, I don't know, like all of the judgmental comments about touch or sex or whatever. You also, by the way, when you get into another relationship, again, you do not want somebody who puts you on a pedestal. So I'm not saying to be with a woman who idealizes you beyond all rationality, because then you're going to fall right off and get devalued. That's usually a woman with borderline personality. Those are the same women that do the shit tests. Go to my shit test podcast. So if you, kind of a regular dude that just happens to have progressed in his career and not to be a shitty father, if you're interacting with a woman after you divorce your wife, or if you're single now, if you're interacting with a woman that's like, oh my God, you're the perfect man. Nothing will ever be wrong in our relationship. You are the exact opposite of my ex in every way. Look at you. You're an amazing father. You're an amazing man. You're so smart and so handsome and so wonderful. Watch the fuck out. That shit is crazy. That is idealization, and that will flip to devaluation the minute that the honeymoon stage ends, and you can see it because she probably talks like her ex is the biggest piece of shit on the planet. Never a good sign. Do not sweep in there like Mr. Idiot White Knight on the horse to save her from her supposedly toxic ex. He's not that toxic. You're going to realize it, and I give you 3 years to realize, he may have had a point. I kind of understand what their fights were about now that I have fallen off the pedestal into disgrace. And I should probably and will probably do a podcast on this about how to not trust the person that puts you on a super big pedestal of thinking that you're absolutely perfect. This is in no way what I mean by finding a partner that likes you. A partner that likes you knows that you're also a real person. A bad sign, a sign that you're involved with somebody who's either has borderline or narcissistic traits, is when they can see absolutely nothing wrong with you at all, and you are the sole perfect person that will rescue you from their life, which was peppered and littered with so much disappointment and so many horrible, bad people. Bad sign. But I could talk about that in its own podcast, and I will. All right, well, hopefully this was practically and pragmatically useful, as well as leading to more deep psychological insight about what the hell is wrong with you to keep picking these women that don't want to fuck you, because you don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. Everybody deserves to have at least once a relationship where you could just shoot the shit about what you want to do in bed. That is certainly within your purview. You could definitely get that with a woman. And if you think you can't, therapy is always an option, and it's always very helpful. Not always very helpful. I don't like to lie. It is not always very helpful, but it is helpful if you meet the right therapist that you click with and you are present and motivated to do the work with said therapist. Okay, and now I feel like I said the right thing and we can go. Alrighty, bye-bye.